Yo, what is up? Today's video is going to be about why you should say what's on your mind. Right now, you might be wondering what I mean by that. A lot of people, when they're talking about that, they might have particularly ideological or political driven meanings behind it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about any of that. What I'm talking about is in terms of socializing, right? If you're a more quiet person and you're struggling to figure out how to stop that, how to make yourself be a more engaging person in your conversations, connect better with people, if you're trying to make friends. My biggest recommendation as someone who also at default is more quiet would just be saying what's on your mind. Irregardless, you're irregardless, bro. Apparently, that's actually a word, which I didn't know. Like, because technically speaking, irregardless, you use it the same way that you use regardless. So technically, it's a double negative, which means that it's wrong, but like it's been recognized in the dictionary because I think enough people use it. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Um, Topic of the video. But yeah, like if you someone who like struggles with speaking and like putting yourself in the social situation, just say what's on your mind, bro. Like it can be anything. It doesn't even need to be like linked to the subject that everyone's talking about, or even if no one's talking about anything. Just make an observation. You know, say what's on your mind. If people are talking and you're thinking of like I don't know like Bakugan or something, say that you're thinking about Bakugan. You don't need to say I'm thinking about Bakugan, but you can make like a throwaway comment of like, yo, like it's actually crazy how I was thinking about Bakugan just now. I wasn't listening, but like I was thinking about Bakugan, and it's crazy how like how long it's been from us being kids. Like it's crazy how old we are now. And then people be like, oh yeah, it's great. And most someone will make a comment about like, oh bro, you're so random. Like how are you thinking about Bakugan at that time? And like but you'll get the conversation and you'll be talking about something that you want to be talking about. And it's one of those things where at worst people think you're a bit odd. But like that's not really the worst thing in the world because the alternative is that they still think you're odd. They just don't know anything about you. Right? Because there's two types of odd people in this scenario. There's more in real life. But there's two types. There's the you who's just quiet, right? That's who I was first year of university. I tried to be social. I After a while, like I failed, bro. And not even like what happened was that like I decided that I wanted to like rebuild myself and make myself a new person and all that. So I was watching Hamza videos on how to, well, specifically the DJ in university thing. And then like I made my group of friends within like a week, the beginning phases. And basically at my uni, there's people who go to the class in the morning and people who go to the class in the afternoon. Turns out every single one of my friends are morning class people, and I'm the only one who's in the afternoon. So within a day, everyone's gone. I'm by myself once again. And after then, I think I like subconsciously kind of gave up on the whole socializing thing. So I ended up becoming a crazy quiet guy like the entirety of first year, which was a horrible experience. Would never recommend it to anyone. It was very much my fault too. Like I just started being antisocial for really no reason. But yeah, so you either become like the quiet guy, who like people still think you're odd because like you just don't talk to them, right? Like I was only in friend groups because I had made friends with someone who was more social than me, and then I just ended up becoming like his shadow the whole of like the first year. And people thought I was weird, dude. Like I only really found out about it later, right? When I started making the effort and shit. That like they didn't think it was like a thing if they didn't think I liked them or they just thought I was weird because I was never like, super active or they never really had an actual opinion of me because I was just there. They thought I was a bit weird because I was just there. So it's like either they think you're weird, but in the worst way possible, where they're also like, I don't know this guy. Like if anyone says anything about you, they're not gonna say anything about it because they don't actually know you, right? You're just around all the time. Or yeah, because I switched to the second one in second year when I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start saying shit. I need to make an effort to be social. So I'd start like starting conversations off of and just saying shit that I wanted to say. Even if it was not even vaguely related, I'd make observations. I'd be looking out in the sky and be like, wow. I remember the one day I think there was thunder in the sky. Oh, no, it was lightning. And I was walking with my friends. I was like, yo, you know, after 10 seconds after lightning flashes, you'll hear thunder. And they were like, what the freak are you talking about, bro? Like, why are you talking about lightning and thunder, right? But like, it was a funny thing. And it's like I'm weird in that way. And it was a thing that they'll talk about later. Like, bro, Kumbra is so like, he's so random, dude. He just like mentions, you know, we're just walking. And then he just starts yapping about like after lightning there's thunder, right? Like, and that's the thing. Like people will still think you're weird, right? Because remember, you are weird, bro. Like that's why you're watching this video about how to, you know, about saying what you're thinking about, you know, saying what you want to say because you struggle with saying what you want to say. So you're probably not the most like socially bossed up, you know. But you got to be comfortable with like people thinking you're weird. You'd rather be weird for saying things than not saying things. Because if you're weird for saying things, then you'll resonate with some people. You'll resonate with people if you say things. Because even if they're like, man, he says the most random things, it becomes a part of your character. You know, you're the guy that's like, you know, he's a bit of a weirdo, but he's a cool guy, you know? And not in a weirdo in the creepy way, a weirdo in the he's random way. You know, everyone has those guys. Okay, I'm saying everyone, but a lot of people know those guys who like people say that they're funny, and it's not even like they're trying to be funny. It's just the type of person that they are. They're just someone who will just say what's on their mind and do what's on their mind, and it turns out to be funny because they're just authentic. You know, they're just thinking what they think. Because a lot of people, they're like so. Because normal people, they'll do that regardless, right? They might be a bit more, you know, what do you call it? Not meticulous, but like intentional about it. But like they're very much like say what's on their mind, right? If they're looking at you and they're like, wow, I like that thing that you're wearing, they'll tell you. If they don't like it and you're friendly enough, they'll tell you. You know, if they think you're walking funny, they'll be like, why are you walking funny, bro? And it'll be funny because like you can tell there's no real malicious intent behind it, right? And then you can do the same thing. Make observations about people. You know, throw out comments about them that aren't too like genuinely malicious. You know, like today I called someone homeless. I said I called someone, you know, like she was yapping about what was she talking about? Uh because she said something about blah blah blah. You know, I have um someone else like where does she live or something, and she had said I have no home or blah blah or something, and I was like, yo, are you homeless? And then she was like, what? She just called me homeless, blah, blah, blah. You know, later she's talking about you know, today someone said I behave like I'm fatherless, and then you called me homeless. And I'm like, what? And I was like, oh, I didn't call you homeless. I was just making an observation and all that. But like through that, you know, she has an idea of me that is not just, oh, that guy that was just like quiet. You know, like if I was just quiet, she wouldn't have known me, bro. She would have been like, oh, just some guy that's quiet. But now she remembers me as like the guy who called the homeless, you know. Uh, but that's probably, you know, it gives you character. If you're willing to say what you think, it gives you more character. Not even gives you character, it conveys your character. Because your issue isn't that you don't have a personality. Your issue is that you're not good at conveying your personality. And the best way to convey your personality, especially if you're someone who's like not good at it, you know, someone who needs to get better at conveying it in a positive way, you might as well start at the baseline of just conveying it, you know, just shooting shit out there. And then the people who like resonate with how you do it will like come to, not even come towards you, but like, you know, they'll naturally filter into your life because they stick around. You know, the people that don't like you, you'll know early on that they don't actually like you. You know, some people, they just like aren't compatible. And then like obviously then you'll get better with it at time. Like last year I had my problems. You know, I had issues with levels of sensitivity or levels of making certain things obvious that I was joking about. Like there was this one girl that thought I was a douche because like I would throw comments like because I was doing my thing of like, you know, saying what I thought. So like someone would make a joke, then I'd make a joke with her, and then she thought like at the time I wouldn't really, even at default my voice isn't super loud. Like I don't really project my voice like crazy. So she thought that I was like throwing off like snide remarks, just like muttering shit to her like on purpose to be like, yeah, fuck you. And she's like, oh, why does everyone like this guy? You know why they were friends with him? He's such a dick, right? But like, and then when she came to the group with it, they were like, "Oh, nah, dude, like that's not what's happening at all. Like he's just, like this is how what he says, bro. Like he's not targeting you. He's not like trying to, he's not just like secretly hating on you. It's like, nah, bro. Like he just says shit like that, and he's just not a loudspeaker. He's not doing it on purpose. He's not like trying to hide from the group that he's this evil. Like, no, bro. He just doesn't talk loud. So but it's like it's one of those, yeah, you'll run into it. It's something that you will run into. But it's not a bad thing because remember, you are new to this, right? You're new to this whole socializing, putting yourself out there. So you're bound to make mistakes. You're bound to be bad at some things. I needed to learn to make it more obvious when I'm joking. So even though my tone doesn't change like crazy, I made it so that the things that I say are obviously ridiculous. Like they're so ridiculous that like I'm obviously joking. And like I made sure to like actively smile at the person when I'm saying it, so they know that I'm just kidding around. And if I can tell that they can't, I'll say I'm joking, right? Or I'll like laugh beforehand. Because I needed to make it clear that I'm joking. That's one thing that like I realized was an issue. I didn't have a clear enough distinction that like of when I was joking. So sometimes shit would just fly, and it's still a thing that happens. But the way that I've like sorted it out in its own way is that one, I've opened the door in that way, but also the way that I say it is like so ridiculous, right? That I'm obviously joking, but then also what I don't know. I try and like balance it, and I'm probably gonna make like mistakes along the way, but that's just part of getting good at a skill, and that's something that you gotta accept when you like start throwing your personality out there and throwing off comments of your observations of just what you're thinking. You gotta accept that it won't always go over well. Some people might just not like you because they don't like who you are, right? But that's okay, because before they were around because they didn't know who you are. So you'd rather have someone leave because they can't handle you as like unfiltered as you are than have someone stay purely because they don't know who you are yet. And then as time goes on, you'll get better at like filtering things through because you don't want, as much as you want to be like authentic, you don't want to be just like a douche. And there's ways that you can say things that can be improved, and there's observations that you make that you don't need to say out loud and all that. And it'll just craft who you are who you perceived as, let's just say. Help you with your social shit. Um, some people, you become like I have a few friends that like I wasn't really friends with first year. I just like hung around them. But then when I started making the effort, we actually became friends by pure virtue of, I actually started letting them know me, so they can make that decision of do I like this guy or not. I started putting my personality out there, and then you start feeling more connected with the people around you than when you're not, putting yourself out there. Because when you're just kind of there, you don't feel like a part of the group because you know that no one knows who you are. You know, no one knows who you are. You can feel that like they all just like see you as the guy, some guy that's like hanging around, right? Some guy that can't, like for me, I could feel that I was just a tag along with my friend, right? Because and that was purely my fault. It's through no fault of their own. Because I'm the new person. I'm supposed to be the one making myself a part of the group. So it was very much just my fault in terms of not putting myself, into the group, not putting myself out there in a way that can be decided upon of, oh yeah, we like this guy. And they probably will like you unless like you have like some crazy character defects that like directly affect them. But it's better to come out of that knowing that they don't like you for who you are than just like sitting in that limbo of like, do they like me, do they not, do they just see me as like a tag along because you really are, and they just kind of tolerate you because you're not like invasive. You're there but you're not invasive, but like you're also just kind of there. So yeah, say what you're thinking, bro. Just put it out there, put yourself out there. I don't know what the video's title will be, but yeah, that is it for today. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. If you have something to say, leave a comment, subscribe for more share this video with your pet cactus, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.